3 true KFC horror stories. Story 1. The Drive-thru. Part 1. My name is Alia, and I was 20 years old when this happened. I worked the evening shift at a KFC in suburban Jacksonville, Florida. It was a Friday night, 9:15 p.m., and the dinner rush had finally died down. I was alone at the drive-thru window, while my co-workers handled the front counter and kitchen. A car pulled up to place an order. The voice through the speaker was calm, polite, almost friendly. But when the car reached my window, the driver handed me something along with his payment. A photograph. A photograph of me sleeping in my own bed. Subscribe now and leave a comment below, because what that man knew about me still terrifies me. Part 2. The KFC where I worked was on a busy commercial strip, surrounded by gas stations and fast food restaurants. During the day, we served a constant stream of customers. At night, things slowed down, but we stayed open until 10. I had been working there for about 11 months. The job was fine. Regular hours, decent pay, co-workers who made the shifts bearable. The drive-thru was where I spent most of my time, taking orders through the headset, bagging food, handling payments at the window. It was repetitive work, but I liked the rhythm of it. That Friday had been typical. The dinner rush hit around 6 and lasted until about 8:30. By 9, the restaurant was quiet, only a handful of customers coming through. My co-worker Terrell was in the kitchen cleaning the fryers. My manager was in the office counting the day's receipts. I was alone at the drive-thru window, waiting for cars to pull up. Around 9:15, the speaker crackled. "Welcome to KFC. What can I get for you tonight?" I would like an 8-piece bucket original recipe with mashed potatoes and coleslaw. The voice was male calm, nothing remarkable. Part 3. Anything else? That will be all. I entered the order and gave him the total. Pull around to the first window. The car that appeared was a dark sedan, maybe 8 years old, the kind of vehicle that blends into any parking lot. The driver was maybe 45, with greying hair, and a face that seemed completely ordinary. He was smiling. "That will be $18.53, I said. He reached toward me holding a $20 bill, but something was tucked beneath the bill, a piece of paper. I took the money, and the paper automatically confused. Then I looked at what he had given me, a photograph, a picture of me lying in my bed asleep. The angle showed my face clearly, my blankets, my nightstand with the lamp I always left on. My blood went cold. "What is this? How do you have this Part 4? He smiled wider. "I have been watching you for 3 months, Aaliyah. I know everything about you. Where you live, what time you come home from work, which window you leave cracked open because your apartment gets too hot at night." I backed away from the window. "I am calling the police." "Go ahead. By the time they arrive, I will be gone. But I will be back. I always come back." He put the car in drive. "See you soon, Aaliyah?" The car pulled away, disappearing into the night. I stood there, shaking, staring at the photograph of myself sleeping. He had been in my bedroom, or at least close enough to photograph through my window, for 3 months, and I had no idea. Part 5. Terrell found me crying behind the counter. "Aaliyah, what happened?" I showed him the photograph. I told him everything the man had said. Terrell called the police immediately. Officers arrived within 20 minutes. They took my statement, took the photograph as evidence, and pulled the security footage from our drive-thru cameras. The footage showed his face clearly. It showed his license plate. "Do you recognize him?" the officer asked. "Has he been here before?" I thought back. 3 months, he said. Had I seen him before? Then I remembered. About 10 weeks ago, a man had come through the drive-thru asking questions about our hours. What time we opened, what time we closed, when the shifts changed. I had not thought anything of it at the time, but it was him, the same man. Part 6. The police increased patrols near my apartment. I started staying with my sister, too afraid to sleep in my own bed, but I could feel him out there, watching. A week later, I came home to my apartment to grab some clothes. The door was unlocked. I had locked it when I left. I was certain. I called the police from the hallway. They arrived within 10 minutes and searched my apartment. He had been inside. My bedroom had been rearranged. My underwear drawer had been opened. And on my pillow, he'd left another photograph. This one showed me at work, taken through the drive-thru window. On the back, in neat handwriting, were the words, "I told you, I always come back." The police escalated my case. They ran his plates, identified him, and put out a warrant for his arrest. Part 7. His name was Raymond Earl Hutchins, 47 years old, registered sex offender with convictions in 3 states. He'd been doing this for over a decade, choosing women who worked customer-facing jobs, learning their schedules, infiltrating their lives. Some of his previous victims had been assaulted. 2 had disappeared and were never found. The police located him at a motel about 30 miles from my apartment. He had been living there for 4 months, ever since he started watching me. In his motel room, they found hundreds of photographs. Pictures of me at work at the grocery store, walking to my car. Pictures taken through my bedroom window while I slept. He had documented every aspect of my life. Raymond Hutchins was charged with stalking, breaking and entering and violation of sex offender registry requirements. Given his history, the prosecutor sought the maximum sentence. He was convicted and sentenced to 20 years in federal prison. Part 8. I moved to a different city after his conviction. I couldn't stay in that apartment. I couldn't work at that KFC. Every time I looked at a window, I imagined him standing outside in the darkness. Every time a car pulled up to the drive-thru, I froze. For 3 months, a man had been watching me without my knowledge. He knew where I slept, what time I came home, which window I left cracked open, and I had no idea until he handed me a photograph of myself sleeping. I work at an office now. No customer-facing role, no name tag, no window where strangers can watch me. I keep my curtains closed constantly. I check my locks 3 times before bed. Some people say I am paranoid. They did not see the photographs. They did not read the words he wrote on the back. If you work a job where customers can see your name and face, please be careful. Notice if the same person appears too often. Trust your instincts when something feels wrong. Because predators study their targets. They learn schedules, routines, vulnerabilities. And by the time you notice them, they might already know everything about you. Story 2. The Parking Lot. Part 1. My name is Terrell, and I was 28 years old when this happened. I'd stopped at a KFC in rural Mississippi, about an hour south of Memphis, during a late-night drive. It was a Saturday night, 10:45 p.m., and the restaurant was nearly empty. I went inside for a quick meal before getting back on the highway. When I came out 20 minutes later, everything had changed. A white cargo van with no windows was now parked directly behind my truck, blocking me in completely. The engine was running, and through the windshield I could see two figures watching me. Subscribe now and leave a comment, because what was waiting in that van almost ended my life. Part 2. The drive from Memphis to Jackson was supposed to take about 3 hours. I had left late, around 8 p.m., hoping to arrive by 11. By 10:30, I was hungry and tired. When I saw the KFC sign glowing off the interstate, I decided to stop. The parking lot held maybe 5 vehicles when I pulled in. I parked near the entrance, went inside, and ordered a 3-piece meal with biscuits and coleslaw. The restaurant was quiet. A couple finishing their meal in a booth, a tired-looking employee behind the counter. Nothing unusual. I ate slowly, checking my phone, letting the food settle before the last leg of my drive. By 11, I was ready to get back on the road. I walked out to the parking lot. That is when I saw the van. It was parked directly behind my truck, so close I could not have backed out if I tried. White cargo style, with no windows on the sides. The engine was running. I could hear the low rumble from across the parking row. Part 3. I stopped walking, my keys clutched in my hand. Through the van's tinted windshield, I could see 2 figures. One in the driver's seat, one in the passenger seat. Neither was moving. They were just sitting there, watching me. The parking lot was nearly empty now. The couple from inside must have left while I was finishing my meal. My truck and the van were the only vehicles near the entrance. I looked back at the KFC. Through the windows, I could see the employee wiping down tables. 1 person. That was it. I pulled out my phone. 911, what is your emergency? I am at the KFC on Highway 61, about an hour south of Memphis. There is a van blocking my truck. 2 people inside. I think they're waiting for me. Can you describe the vehicle? White cargo van, no side windows, engine running. I cannot see the license plate from here. Officers are being dispatched. Can you get to a safe location? I started backing toward the restaurant entrance. The van's side door slid open. Part 4. 2 men stepped out. Both were large, wearing dark clothes. They started walking toward me. "Hey, hold up," one of them called. "You dropped your wallet back there." I did not stop. I turned and ran toward the restaurant. The door was maybe 30 feet away. I heard their footsteps behind me, heavy and fast on the asphalt. I burst through the door and nearly knocked over the employee. "Lock the door, call the police. There are men chasing me." The employee looked past me, eyes going wide. Through the glass, I could see the 2 men standing about 20 feet from the entrance. They had stopped running when I entered. One of them smiled and waved. Then they turned and walked back toward the van. Part 5. The employee locked the door and called 911 while I watched through the window. The van sat there for another minute, engine running, both figures visible through the windshield. Then it pulled out of the parking lot, heading north on the highway. The police arrived within 15 minutes. By then, the van was long gone. I gave them my statement. The white van, the 2 figures, the way they had blocked my truck. The officer nodded slowly. "We have had reports of a similar van along this stretch of highway. White, no windows, 2 occupants. Approaches people at rest stops and restaurants." "What do they want?" He hesitated. "We believe it is a coordinated operation. Kidnapping, possibly trafficking. They target people traveling alone at night." Part 6. They caught them 3 weeks later. A woman at a gas station about 50 miles from where I had been noticed the same van circling the lot before she parked. She called the police from inside the store. Officers arrived in time to intercept the van as it tried to leave. Their names were Warren Douglas Patterson and Carl Eugene Simmons, both in their late 40s, both with extensive criminal histories, including assault robbery and kidnapping. When they searched the van, they found rope tape sedatives and a mattress in the back. They found photographs of people at various locations along the highway taken through the van's windshield. My photograph was in the collection. They had been watching me before I even parked. Part 7. The investigation connected them to 4 disappearances across Mississippi, Tennessee, and Arkansas. People who had stopped at isolated restaurants and gas stations. People traveling alone at night. People who were never seen again. 2 bodies were found on property owned by Warren Patterson's family. The others have never been recovered. Warren Patterson and Carl Simmons were convicted of multiple counts of kidnapping and murder. They are both on death row in Mississippi. Part 8. I think about that night constantly. The van appearing behind my truck, the men walking toward me, the words they called out about my wallet. If I had not noticed the van, if I had walked straight to my truck, if I had stopped when they called out, I would be another missing person, another body buried on some rural property. I do not stop at isolated restaurants anymore. When I travel, I choose busy locations with lots of people. I park near entrances under lights. I check the parking lot before I leave a building. Some people say I am overreacting. They did not see what was in that van. They did not hear about the people who disappeared along that highway. If you ever stop at a restaurant late at night and find a van parked too close to your vehicle, do not approach. Go back inside. Call the police. Because sometimes the van is not there by accident. Sometimes it is waiting for you. Story 3. The Storage Room, Part 1. My name is Marcus, and I was 23 years old when this happened. I worked the closing shift at a KFC in suburban Houston, Texas. It was a Wednesday night, 10:30 p.m., and the restaurant had been closed for 30 minutes. I was alone in the back, organizing supplies in the storage room before I could finish closing. The room was small, lined with metal shelves stacked with boxes of cups, napkins, and cooking supplies. Everything seemed normal until I heard breathing. Soft, controlled breathing coming from behind the tall stack of boxes in the corner. Someone was hiding in our storage room. Subscribe now and leave a comment below, because what I found back there almost killed me. Part 2. The KFC where I worked was in a busy commercial area, surrounded by strip malls and other fast food restaurants. During the day, we served hundreds of customers. At night, things quieted down considerably. We closed at 10 on weeknights. By 10:30, most of the cleaning was done, and employees were heading home. Closing shift was usually a 2-person job, but that Wednesday, my co-worker had called in sick. My manager had stayed late to help with the initial cleaning, then left around 10:15, trusting me to finish up. Just organize the storage room, count the register, and lock up. You have done it before. I had. Dozens of times. It was routine. By 10:30, I was in the storage room at the back of the building, checking inventory and organizing supplies for the morning crew. The storage room was small, maybe 10 feet by 15 feet, with one door and no windows. Metal shelves lined the walls, stacked with boxes of supplies. I was counting boxes of napkins when I heard the breathing. Part 3. I froze my pen, hovering over the clipboard. The sound was coming from the far corner of the room, behind a tall stack of boxes that reached almost to the ceiling. Soft breathing, controlled, like someone trying to stay quiet. "Hello? Someone back there?" Silence. I set down the clipboard and walked slowly toward the corner. The boxes were stacked in a way that created a hidden space between them and the wall. A space big enough for a person. "I know someone is there. Come out right now." Movement. The sound of fabric shifting. A man emerged from behind the boxes. He was maybe 50, with a scraggly beard and wild eyes. His clothes were dirty and torn, like he had been wearing them for days. He was holding a box cutter. Part 4. I backed toward the door, keeping my eyes on him. "How did you get in here?" "The back door. During the dinner rush. Everyone was so busy no one noticed me slip in." He'd been hiding in our storage room for hours, since the dinner rush at 6 or 7. "You need to leave. Right now." "I do not think so." He stepped toward me, blocking my path to the door. "I have been watching this store for 2 weeks. I know your routines. I know that on Wednesdays one person closes alone. I know the manager leaves early." He'd been planning this, studying us. "What do you want?" "The safe, the deposit, whatever cash you have." "Fine, take it. I do not care about the money." "We will get to that. But first, I need to make sure you do not cause any problems." Part 5. He moved faster than I expected. He grabbed my arm and twisted it behind my back, pressing the box cutter against my throat. "Walk, slowly, to the office." I walked, my heart pounding the blade cold against my skin. The office was at the other end of the building, past the kitchen and the dining area. The safe was inside, hidden under the manager's desk. As we walked through the kitchen, I looked for anything I could use as a weapon. A knife, a pan, anything. Everything was put away, cleaned and stored for the night. We reached the office. He shoved me toward the desk. "Open the safe." I knelt and entered the combination, my hands shaking. The safe clicked open. Inside was the night deposit, maybe $1,200. "Take it out. Put it in a bag." I grabbed the cash and placed it in a paper bag from the desk. He snatched the bag and stuffed it inside his jacket. "Now what?" I asked. "Now we have a problem. You have seen my face." Part 6. He raised the box cutter. I grabbed the stapler from the desk and swung it at his hand. It connected with his wrist. He howled and dropped the blade. I dove for the box cutter, but he tackled me before I could reach it. We struggled on the floor, grappling for position. He was stronger, but I was younger and faster. I got my knee into his chest and pushed. He flew backward, crashing into the desk. I scrambled to my feet and ran. The back door was closer than the front. I sprinted through the kitchen, past the storage room, toward the exit. I hit the push bar and burst into the alley behind the restaurant. The night air was cool, the alley dark, except for a single security light. I ran toward the main street, pulling out my phone. 911. Someone attacked me. KFC on Westheimer Road. He is still inside. Behind me, I heard the back door crash open. He was following. Part 7. I ran faster, my sneakers pounding on the asphalt. The main street was 50 feet away. 40. I could hear his footsteps behind me getting closer. A car turned into the alley. its headlights blinding me. I threw myself to the side as it passed. The car stopped between me and my pursuer. A woman rolled down her window. "What is going on? Are you okay? Call 911. That man attacked me." The man stopped running. He looked at the woman in the car, then at me. Then he turned and ran the other direction, disappearing into the darkness at the other end of the alley. The police arrived within 8 minutes. They searched the restaurant, the alley, the surrounding blocks. They found him hiding behind a dumpster about 2 blocks away, still holding the bag of money. Part 8. His name was Douglas Wayne Vickers. 52 years old, homeless with a history of robbery and assault charges spanning 3 states. He'd been targeting fast food restaurants for years, studying their routines, hiding inside during operating hours, waiting until one employee was left alone. Some of his previous victims had been hurt badly. One had been hospitalized for weeks after being slashed with a box cutter. Douglas Vickers was convicted of armed robbery and assault. Given his history, he was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. I quit my job at KFC the week after they arrested him. I could not work in that building anymore. Every time I walked past the storage room, I imagined him hiding behind those boxes, waiting. Every time I heard a sound from the back of the store, I froze. For hours, a man had been hiding in our storage room, watching us through the gap in the boxes, waiting for me to be alone. If the woman had not driven into that alley, if she had not stopped to ask if I was okay, if I had not grabbed that stapler when I did. I do not like to think about what would have happened. If you work closing shifts, please be careful. Check every space before you start your routine. The storage rooms, the bathrooms, anywhere someone could hide. Never close alone if you can avoid it. Because predators are patient. They hide, they wait, and they count on you not checking. The end. If these stories scared you, leave a comment below and tell me which one was the most terrifying. And remember, the next time you work a late shift or stop at a fast food restaurant, at night, pay attention to your surroundings. Watch for people who watch you. Check the parking lot before you approach your car. And never assume you are safe just because you are in a public place. Because predators hunt where people feel comfortable, and they are waiting for you to let your guard down.